Alright guys, let's hop into it. These are going to be the best Malignant hearts for the end game. There is a video I've already covered through the early game, but this is specifically covering once you're about like level 50 or maybe in World Tier 3 and 4. So starting right off, we will go over all the classes, but there is a major overlap between two of the Malignant hearts. Those two in particular are going to be the Barber and the Revenge. That's pretty much just like the best in slot for pretty much every single class for the most part. That's like the TLDR. However, let's go over the effects of them and why, and I'm going to break down some other niche ideas that you can actually incorporate in your build, as there's lots of different things that you can do with these hearts, but pretty much right now it's going to be the Barber as well as Revenge. So starting right off with the Barber. Why is the Barber super good? Well, it makes it so when you do crit strikes and all subsequent damage within a set duration, this number can roll. It's absorbed by your target, and then it's going to erupt and do a massive amount of damage, and the stored damage is increased per second. So this one is interesting because some of the numbers, and I'll explain some of these like intricate things, and it's very important that you guys watch for the intricate things because there's certain things that like on hit cannot apply during this, or certain lucky hits when you actually hit a target, because all of it is getting absorbed, therefore it can't activate when some sort of condition is met. So getting a high number sometimes isn't even that great. Sometimes getting a low number is okay as well. Honestly, at the end of the day, just get the Barber. It is superior in pretty much every single build for the game, and you're going to see it when we go over every single class, because I want to use this video for all the classes in the game, and then we'll talk a little bit about theory crafting and other cool ideas that you can do with some of these hearts. So this is going to be pretty much the best in your like Wrathful slot. Keep in mind, you're only allowed one Wrathful, and then the other colors, it doesn't really matter, but you cannot stack. And then we also have the Revenge. So these are going to be the two important ones. So what the Revenge one does is it absorbs damage, and then it's going to let you explode the damage and deal a small amount of fire damage. Honestly, it's not used for the offensive capabilities. It's just used to suppress the incoming damage. So it's just flat getting some extra damage reduction, which is really good. Those are the two primary ones that you're going to see time and time again on this list. This list is actually going to be quite fast, but I wanted to go ahead and explain. So it just gives you less damage taken. Now that we've gone over the two most important ones, every single class is going to be a little bit different here. Let's go over the Barbarian. So with the Barbarian, just like you'll see with a lot of these builds, it's going to be the Barber and Revenge for the most part. Now in the other slot, this is kind of flexible. Focus Rage is an excellent one. However, it only really works with like a Hoda Barb or something that's going to expend it all at once versus a channeled ability like Whirlwind. And the reason why is it's currently very, very bugged. When you activate a lot of different skills, it will like override it. There's a really good video by Rob2628 that kind of explains this more, but I'm just going to give you guys the TLDR. Pretty much, it doesn't work with like holding down one channeled skill and you'll get all the bonuses. Unfortunately, it is super bugged. You can activate any ability and it removes this buff, which is terrible. You don't want that, but it's kind of in a bad state. Hopefully on the next patch we'll get a update to this and it will work properly, more than likely later down the line. I don't think they mentioned this on the August 8th patch, but this is a major thing. If this gets fixed with the Barbarian, it will be good in your Whirlwind build. But Whirlwind, you can usually receive high crit anyways, but it would let you, in theory, basically not get any crit on your build for the most part, and you could just throw this in and you'd be good to go, and you'd have near 100% crit. The actual number would be like, it's like 68 plus, I think, 40 here, and pretty much at that point, well, you're good to go. So this is for Barbarian. Now, next up for the Necromancer, well, this one's going to be a little bit different. So we still see the Barber, and this one is going to be different for the Necromancer. So on the Necromancer, we have the Sacrilegious. So this is mainly focusing in on Bone Spirit's the most popular build, but the Sacrilegious, it makes it so walking near a corpse will automatically activate a corpse skill every second, and it deals some less damage, but it doesn't matter because it's all automated, which is so dang nice. And then, well, what's the Barber again, because the Barber is one of the best. Now with Necromancer, you can run the damage reduction one as well. However, getting that free Decrepify is just so dang good. So how it works is, it says, well, at the highest level, when there's at least 0 enemies, you gain an aura that automatically curses enemies. So it really frees up your hands from pushing all the buttons. Hey, it's just automatic. But again, the other one still could be good. Again, the other one that we talked about, and you'll see it again, Revenge. So that's for Necromancer. Now, next up over here, this is going to be for Druid. This is pretty much going over the one that requires Tempest Roar because it's the most popular, but I'm just going over like the popular and the meta stuff here. Otherwise, this video could get too long. But the Unconstrained Beast is actually pretty good. So this is where it kind of mixes up. Barber is still excellent, but the ability to activate Grizzly Rage is pretty big. You can run either one, but the fact that you can just activate this ability and get an ultimate almost for free, because it's just whenever a stun, freeze, or a knockdown effect, you have over a 50% chance on the highest end to just get an ultimate. That's really insane. And then the druid actually has the Bikana, which makes so the critical strikes will actually charge the enemies, which will actually deal damage. This is actually really good for a lot of different things. This one's, I would say, maybe kind of arguably a flexible one, but just to proc any other effects where when you hit enemy with this, something else starts to scale in damage. There's a lot of different builds that can actually run the Bikana. So this one's a little bit more niche again. If your damage can scale off of X consecutive hits or on X hits something happens, this can be actually really good. And then Tempting Fate over here, you'll see this one time and time again as well. Again, if you want to mix and match some of the damage reduction ones, I'm just trying to give you guys a variety of really good ones here. Tempting Fate is actually really good. It gives you extra crit damage, but your non-crits deal less damage. So again, this is for the end game. Early game, do not run the Tempting Fate at all, but in the end game, this is one of the stronger offensive choices over here. Pretty much the orange ones are in the offensive, and you do have to match the colors, but the white one, the Wrathful, can be put in any, so this is going to be really good for a lot of different builds as well. Next up, there is another Druid build. This is the Trample Slide, and I have to mention, Druid gets 2 classes in this video because it's kind of different. So Barber, I've already mentioned that. Now, Inexorable Force is really good. So you can grab up to 50 distant enemies whenever an ultimate skill is active, and you can actually activate it quite fast with this build. This is not going to be a build video, but this is an excellent one. It's so great for groups. I love it when I get to party up with a druid that's playing Trample Slide and has this, and then we're just revenge again. Next up for Rogue, one of my favorite classes. Hey, it's the Barber once again, especially when you're playing Twisting Blades with the Death Trap. It sucks everything in, and you just get this instant pop, and it's super satisfying. Now, there is currently, I'm not sure if it's a bug, glitch, or intended, but the Barber, for some reason, counts as shadow damage. So if you have your passives to actually activate a resource on kill for shadow damage, Barber actually works for it. Again, this could be a bug, could be removed, but as of right now, it works, and this is super OP because of that. And then it's pretty much revenge, like on most builds. Now, you can also run the Dark Dance. There's actually something I want to talk about in a second here. This is going to be after the August 8th buff with Temerity. Dark Dance is actually going to be pretty good, but you can also go back and run the offensive one where it does more crit damage, but less non-crit damage. That one is actually really good. That one's actually bugged too. I do have to mention this real quick. This one is actually bugged. Whatever number it says, like let's say you got 85 on a perfect roll, it actually is more than that. There's some weird other bonus multiplier that's working in here. Don't know why, but it's bugged, and it gives you more than what it says. All right, so now that we went over Rogue, let's go over the Sorcerer. So guess what? It's the Barber, and then we have Tall Rush. So this is a little different here. So for each unique element, and this is going to be mainly covering Ice Shards, but you can do it with Blizzard too. Basically, just cycle through everything. Every single build will obviously play Teleport, and that's going to be like your lightning, then you have your ice, and then whatever other fire skill, whatever, you just get increased damage. It's like free, and then revenge once again. Now that we've went over the basic ones that are going to be the best, I want to go over some niche ones that you can use maybe for very specific things, or if you want to do other things, it could be good for niche things. I still think the Great Feast is actually a pretty cool thing if you want to run this one. Obviously Barber is going to be great when you're actually eliminating things, but if you're doing any of the bosses or just like really hard content, specifically like Uber Lilith, this one can be very viable, and it can actually open up the door for minion builds as well, as it makes it so you drain essence, but you do way more damage, and it can give you up to X 100% increased damage, which is absolutely crazy compared to most of the other ones that we're getting. Like on the Barbarian, this is so weird. Like looking at these, I was checking out all these when I was making my original video. The classes that have like a Wrathful Heart, usually this is supposed to be their superpower one, right? Barbarian gets Ignore Pain, which gets you like some extra heals. Like what? That is so weird. We'll go over Malignant Path. This is like a generic one, but the Barbarian one is so weird because it doesn't give you some massive cool like damage or something cool. It just, you can have 15% chance of not taking damage, which is still like okay, but for it to be a Wrathful one, that was very strange in terms of design. Hopefully that one may be on the block for getting a buff. All right, next up though, another good one for maybe PvP is Prudent Heart, or if you're doing any hard content, specifically like bosses, it's pretty much just for the Uber boss, the Lilith, but you know, maybe there's other applications that this can apply to later down the line if they add some other tough content, but in PvP this could be good. If you're taking more than 20% of your life in one hit, it's just going to give you immunity, which is actually good. I do like that ability. Again, for a defensive slot, usually you want the damage reduction, but through your progression, sometimes you just have an empty socket and you might as well just throw something in, and this one is like better than some of the other ones, right? The other one that can be really good for bossing or even PvP is the Malignant Pack. So how it works, it cycles through these different things. So every 20 kills, it changes. So you'll have plus 25% attack speed, or you can have it chance up to 20% chance to fully restore your primary resource. That could be good for, again, Uber Lilith is kind of like the only pinnacle boss we have here at the moment, and that one can be actually actually pretty good. And then every 16 seconds you gain a barrier. The barrier number is arguably too low, but what you could do is just start stacking it up. Then you can go into PvP and have all this barrier, and you get like X, bonus when a barrier is applied. But yeah, that could be kind of cool as well. And next up over here, the Pakana. I've already talked about this one. If there's any build that requires hits to increase damage, like there's lots of different ones in different builds. I'm not going to go over all of them, but basically you get the idea. If you hit the enemy X amount of times, you increase the damage. However, if you are playing Sorceress, maybe this could be okay with scaling lightning damage, but ideally you want to scale like core skills, and it's kind of hard to scale like just this random other thing. But there are builds again that can benefit off of this. And then also the Dark Dance can be really good. This is the thing that I actually plan to make a full build guide on, is the Dark Dance with Temerity once it gets its buff, because it's going to give you way more shield, and this is going to make it so you basically can try to upkeep your HP. There's lots of different ways that you can upkeep your HP in a lot of builds. I know my face is kind of blocking it, but Cruel Sustenance is one thing that you can actually go for. Do I have another slot that we can throw it in here? Let me just put it in over here so you guys can actually read it, if I could spell. Cruel Sustenance makes it so you just gain some heals off of Victimize. There's also one with stacks of momentum on Rogue, so there can be other plays where you're basically building your character for specifically a heart, and this also gives you a 30% X increased damage, so that could be really good. And again, because you're taking shield damage, your life, if you're able to regen enough, you can try to upkeep this really high. Another one that you can actually go for is the cluster munitions. If you are playing Rogue, what this allows you to do is you have the ability to make it so you have a 20% chance to launch these stun grenades, and this will deal physical damage and stun. What you can do with this is you can make it so your grenade skills count as traps if you want to start scaling into other effects while affected by a trap, or there's actually some sort of cooldown reduction on traps. There's a lot of cool things that you can do with this thing for like your ulti. And then you can also run Frostbitten Aspect, which will then actually make it so your grenades, while chilled enemies are hit by it, which you can run Penitent Greaves, are going to have this chance to actually instantly freeze the enemies, and you deal increased critical strike damage against frozen enemies. So that can be another bonus there. That could actually freeze things quite fast and also build up that stagger bar a lot faster. This is more for like really far in the endgame when you have a lot of good things. Unfortunately, the Vile Apothecary is not that great. Again, Barber's just kind of better, but that would be something that can combo with it. And there's also the aspect of Retribution, which allows you to have more damage against stunned enemies if you have an open ring slot, which again, if you're stunning the enemies, yeah, you get that effect. And then over here we have, this is on the Sorcerer. I thought the Omni Power was pretty cool if you really want to clear things super fast. Barber is still arguably really good, but there comes to a point where you're one-shotting a lot of things, and with the new buff to Chain Lightning, Omni Power launching like 5 Chain Lightnings is just bonkers levels because of the new buff, where it just has to get increased damage via bounces. It doesn't have to like bounce in between you and like an elite. It just bounces, and you're gonna get a massive amount of Chain Lightnings to shoot out. I think this could be actually pretty fun. It just launches way more projectiles. And then with Prudent Heart, I already mentioned that one. And then Attempting Fate, just mentioning it again. It's really good for a lot of different builds, and especially in the Sorceress department, because you can just basically delete a lot of the things. And there's like a huge extra bonus crit when you have more mana, although this would drain all of your mana. I'm not sure if it works on like when you expend, if it counts when activation, but nonetheless, this could be a kind of a cool thing just to mess around with if you are running some sort of build where you have crit based off of. Now, you might not want to combo these ones, so just warning as a heads up, but Tempting Fate would allow you to have an insane amount of extra crit strike damage, because you can get a lot of crit chance anyways with the Sorceress. Once you're above, I think that's like 90 mana. But that's going to go ahead and wrap up things. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here and do want to see any updates to this, as there is supposed to be one more change on the 8th, and I'll go over the patch notes and I'll let you guys know if this tier list changes at all. But right now, Barber, and again, the one where you are getting some sort of damage reduction revenge, are kind of your go-to ones. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.